Okay, so welcome to the workshop 1, which is the introduction to the Unix command line. So basically you can view the Unix or basically my workshop as the Swiss Army knife, where you will get a bunch of skills which will help you survive using the Unix. So my name is Serghei Mangul. I'm from Elazar Eskin Lab. I do a lot of sequencing analysis, particularly RNA-seq, viruses, microbiome overall, and various projects relates to the bioinformatics analysis and developing tools to analyze the sequencing data. Okay, so this is the plan we have for the workshop. So we started the day 1, where so today we will be covering the very basic things, and then again I don't assume any background, so I assume 0 background or maybe -1, where we'll start from the very beginning, trying to cover everything, and then slowly building the skills how to operate the Unix system. And the second day we'll cover more Unix commands which are useful. We'll talk about how to analyze the text files, so how to having the large files composed maybe of the million lines, how you would use the text processing tools to extract certain lines which you're interested in, and how to parse in general the large files. So day 3, we will talk about the scripting, how you can automate the things. As well, we will see how to run the real job on the Hoffman 2 cluster. Okay, so the question you might ask, why Unix, right? Why I can't use my laptop? And the answer is, so probably you will not be able to, just because the data is so large, the computation is so intensive, so the power of your laptop is not enough. And overall, if you think about the Unix have been around for, I guess, like 50 years. It's shown to be scalable, it's shown to be efficient in terms of analyzing the data. So I can say only good things about Unix. The disadvantage, it requires to know command line interface. So as you're coming from the graphical interface, right, you do have your laptop, you have the system where you click the things, you drag and drops, and so on. So here we don't have anything like that. So all we will have, this is the black screen with the single line. So to copy the files, to move the files, to do anything we think of, we will need to use the keyboard and writing the commands. So this is how we'll be interacting the Unix system. So all those advantages, they come for the cost of learning the command line interface. So this is what we plan to do in the 3 days. So I encourage you, I really think that you should stay positive. It's doable, even maybe it's not sound realistic, but it's doable, proven to be doable in 3 days. That's kind of enough you to get the basic knowledge and then move forward and you build more of your skills. Okay, so this is what I was saying. So the Unix is very popular. So basically all the bioinformatics software which are designed, they're usually designed for Unix, just because it's kind of the convention. People assume you'll be using the cluster with the Unix installed. So they do that. So it's stable. So basically you can run job for days and days and the Unix will never crash, right? So which is a good news. You will get the results eventually after running your tools. So it's very efficient, it can handle huge amount of data. So we talk about the files of the sequencing where we have hundreds of millions of the reads, which comes to the size of gigabyte of the data, right? Each file can be around 4 gigabytes of the data, which is large. Think about hundreds of samples, that's already a lot of data. And yeah, so as I said, all the bioinformatics tools are designed for the Unix system. Okay, so if we compare with the Unix, which is here, command line interface, and the graphical interface, so this is the only advantage of graphical interface. So it's intuitive, right? So it's visually intuitive. If you switch, I guess, from the one version of the Windows to another, or like from Windows to Mac, so kind of it's easy to learn, right? You try to click everything, probably it will work. If it does, you click more. So here you can't do that. You can't type something and then thinking that you will learn it. It will not work. So you need to know, to have certain amount of knowledge and skills to operate the Unix system. I don't think there is much amount of knowledge that you need. I think they fit kind of in 3 days, at least the basic knowledge. So this is what we need to cover. Okay, so this is advantage of Windows, so any graphical interface versus the command line. And then all other my slides will be just giving you the expectation will be opposite. Okay, so control. You don't have much of the control on the Windows. So when you're trying to organize a file, copy the file, or specific, so there is many things that you just by default, how the system is designed to be secure, I guess, you don't have much of the control, which on Unix you have the full control. So as it comes to the multitasking, basically running multiple commands, multiple analysis pipelines, and so on. So again, command line interface is more efficient. It allows you really to do multitasking, which graphical interface does not. So in terms of the speed, so its Unix is more efficient, and and as well as if you so I think also this, if you think about the speed, that will be how fast you can copy the files, let's say, right? So if you will do it, so I should say like this. So having the skills, or a little bit of the skills, you will be able, believe me or not, you will be able to do things faster with your keyboard than with the mouse, especially for many files. So given 100 files, which you need to copy and organize and stuff like this, so that will be faster with the command line interface rather than the Windows or any laptop. Just because there is a certain tricks which you can simultaneously copy many files and so on. So, but that's comes with the experience. So as you will build your experience, you will see how things are getting faster for you, how fast you can navigate, you can copy the file, you can organize some file, and so on. Okay, so the scripting, which we'll be covering in day 3, which is basically talks about the executing many steps of the pipeline and organizing those things. So that is possible in command line interface and not possible in the graphical interface. Yeah, and another thing is like Unix is really stable in terms of the versions, right? So if you know Unix, you know Unix. There is no new version of Unix that you need to learn. As for the Windows or any other operating system, they are slightly changing. Every version needs adjustment, needs you to look at it and get used to that and so on. Unix is once kind of, there is a core thing and then it doesn't change anything. I think it didn't change much from the time it was invented. Okay, so the last thing is that so I think it's really comfortable then you're just using the keyboard, just because you're kind of your fingers are stable. The keyboard, you never switch between the mouse and the keyboard. So if you don't want to get this syndrome, which they claim that you might get by switching, so stay with Unix. Okay, so that was kind of the motivation why you need to learn the Unix and what are the advantages. And the question before starting the workshop, the question usually I ask, so if you're not computer science major, right, you never do the programming, you never do the anything like that, do you really need to become a programmer? And my answer here is no, right? So we're not gonna be a programmer in 3 days. And my picture, kind of high-level picture of the workshop will be as follows. So given the knowledge which is provided in the class, the skills and the knowledge, and giving the unlimited resources of the web, where you will be surprised, there is a lot of things there. But if I ask you, to go and explore them right now. Probably you can't, just because you don't have any preliminary knowledge at all, right? So we need to get just sufficient amount of knowledge to be able to use the web, all the forums, discussions, and then you will surprise. Sometimes you find the full solution for your answer, like how to sort the file by the column number 3. So try to Google it, there is an answer, but you can't understand it now, and then you will be able to understand it after 3 days. Okay, so this is the idea for the workshop. So any questions so far? Okay, so this is how the Hoffman tool in particular, or any cluster, is organized. So you do have your terminal, or in other words, your laptop, your computer, and this is the cluster, many nodes, efficient way to organize the computing power, and so on. So this is given that. So what we plan to do, we will plan to connect the laptop to the cluster and submit the jobs and execute the things on the cluster. So what is the advantage of this setup? So first of all, I think that just using the laptop, you suddenly have the access to the pretty large computational power to make your analysis. Also, by connecting to the cluster, you can submit the jobs, right? So you can run the analysis. The analysis will be run. You can disconnect your laptop, and the analysis will be still running. You can go home, take a couple of day vacations, right? Come back, and the analysis will be done, right? So this is kind of the idea. Instead, if you're using your laptop, you should keep it awake, right? Working all the time, overheating, and all those things. So this is what I like. So when I'm choosing the laptop, I don't care about the computational power at all, because I do nothing on my laptop besides just connecting to the cluster and submitting the jobs and doing the analysis on the cluster. So I think that's one of the beauty of the Unix and overall of the system, where your laptop is involved minimally in the sense that it allows you to connect to the cluster with large computational power. So the way we'll connect to the cluster, first of all, we'll need the account and the password. So if you're experiencing any problems with that, so I think for today it's fine kind of not to use the cluster. Everything what we'll be doing today, you can do on your machine, given that this is the Mac. So on the Mac, there is the application terminal where all the things we do on the cluster, you can do it on your Mac. For Windows, it's you don't have that alternative to do it locally, just because you don't have the Unix kind of underlying the system. Because if you think about the Mac, Mac is based on the Unix system, which Windows is not quite is. Okay, so to connect to the cluster, we'll be using SSH secure, which will allow us securely to connect to the cluster. That's the full name of the cluster. Try to remember it. You will be typing many times. Hoffman2.idre, which stands for the Special Institute, or like at UCLA, which take care of the cluster. So I think we are lucky to have it, just because it's really well maintained. It never crashes. A lot of people take care of it. And UCLA.edu. And then you should have your username and the password. Yeah, so this is what you got by email when you apply for the account. Okay, so we will be connecting to the cluster in a second, and then I will take a pass, just making sure that everybody is able to connect. So if you have any issues, we will try to solve it. Okay, so this is high-level idea, how we'll connect, and then this is, I guess, the only place where it will be different for the Mac and for the Windows. But as soon as we are on the cluster, so it really doesn't matter. How did you connect to the cluster? Did you connect it for Windows, for Mac, for desktop? It doesn't matter. But at the point where you do connect, that differs, slightly different. Okay, so for the Mac, it's very simple. You open the utilities and you open the terminal, which is kind of black square. So click that. That's all you need to do. For the Windows, you need to install one program, which is pretty simple to install. So usually the way I do it, I just open the Google and I type PuTTY, PuTTY, and then the very first page shows up. I click it, and then I find somewhere kind of in between, a little bit on the bottom, there is a link says for Windows, PuTTY.exe. You're looking for the PuTTY.exe, and click it, and then say yes, execute, okay, something like that, and then you will get, I guess, the black screen as well. Okay, so that's the idea how we'll be doing that. Okay, so how exactly, let's start with the Windows, just because it requires additional step. So for the Windows, that's how it will look like. So given the PuTTY, which should look, okay, so it will look like that in the beginning, kind of the window with configuration. So all you need to do, you should put here a Hoffman2 idre.ucla.edu, and right here, just put your session name. So for example, Hoffman2. So this way, anytime you want to connect again to the cluster, the session name will be here, so you don't need to type again the full name of the cluster. So if you do so, click, I guess, save right here, and yeah, and that's it, I guess, and then click open. So as a result, you should get this black screen where you will be asked for the login right here and for the password. So the thing about, so again, I will make sure that in a second that everybody is able to get it there, but the thing about the password is that so you will be typing and you will see nothing. Then you type the password, you will be typing, but on the screen you will see nothing. That's kind of a secure thing. And so type it to the end and press the enter. So this is kind of the idea. So having your password, type it to the end, press enter, and you should get in. So, and then I think you will be asked for fingerprints, for some stuff. Just say yes. How you say yes? Just type YES and press enter. Okay, and then if everything is fine, you should be able to get on the cluster. So for the Mac, it's even more it's simpler. All you need to type, this is one line. So open the terminal and type exactly this line. So SSH space, your username, not mine. Mine is Serghei, yours is different, right? So at hoffman2.idre.ucla.edu. Okay, so if you type it, press enter, you will be asked for the password, type the password the same way, don't press backspace, anything like that, just type it to the very end, your password, press enter, then everything is fine, you should be able to get on the cluster. Okay, so I guess I leave it here, and then I will make sure that everybody is able to get. Okay, so it looks like everybody is able to get. So, but if you're still waiting for the password to come or anything like that, you can use your terminal on your laptop, or I mean any Mac device, and you will be fine for today. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so we are on the cluster. So the way it will work, that will be, you will be typing the command, and after you're done with typing the command, you will press enter. And then this way you will be kind of communicating with the Unix. So this is called the shell scripting. Okay, so before we'll try our first command, let's see how the system is organized. In the sense, it's pretty similar to how your laptop organized. You do have my documents, your personal files, pictures, and so on. So the same is there in the sense that you do have the directories, and the only kind of difference is that on the cluster there is very many people, right? There is very many users. So every user will have his own directory. So like on this particular cluster, we have 2 users, being John and Mary. So each of those, they have a separate directory. And then we'll refer to those as the home directory of John and home directory of Mary. So basically, each of you will have his or her own home directory, and then that will be different for for each of you, right? So this is in your home directory, you will store all your files. So basically all the time, I guess mostly of the time, you'll be located in your home directory and they will be doing things there. So for example, for the Mary, this is how we'll refer to your home directory. So we'll say /home/Mary/ right? And then how does it come? Where does it come from? So if you follow the tree, right, how the file, so this is the /, the very first kind of root, then there is home/Mary, right? So this is how you indicate to which directory you want to point. So kind of similar for the laptop, if you ever saw like the path of the directory. And as I said, in the home directory, you can organize, you will be placing the directories and the files. So for example, John created the directory which is called portfolio in his home directory. So as a result, the path or the path of the directory portfolio is the following. So his home directory, right, home, John, and then the name of the directory he created. So this will be the path to the directory portfolio. So the Hoffman 2, we have slightly different picture where we don't have exactly home, your username. Instead, we have something like here, you, and then there is a letter which stands for the, I guess, the first letter of your username, right? So all the users which have a username starting with S will be in this directory, and so on. But overall, it's the same. So this is my directory which I call project, and that will be the path of the directory project. And so be aware that the Unix is case sensitive, right? So if you do John or you do portfolio with capital P, or with the uppercase P or lowercase p, that will be different directories, right? Okay. So any questions here? Okay, so so when you do login to the cluster, you will always start in your home directory, right? That's kind of so the convention. And in your home directory, you can do whatever you want, right? You can create as many directories as you like, and so on. Copying the files, organizing your files, and so on, as you do normally on your laptop, right? So from this perspective, there is no difference. The only thing, as usually, I think all of us know this, but not all of us follows, including me. So we accumulate thousands of files, right, which is hard with the cryptic names, right? So we don't give a meaningful name for the directories, having hard time later figuring what the directory stands for, and so on. So we all do that. The only difference is here is a little bit crucial, just because we are talking about the big data where we have large amount of data, and the space is really crucial on the Hoffman. So basically, whoever approves your account pays for the space you're using. So I think you should, and then in general, you will be, if you're doing a lot of sequencing analysis, you will be tight on the space. And so try not to accumulate those large files. And I guess another tip is that if you're doing many projects and then storing the project for a while and maybe coming back after half a year and so my suggestion will be always do the README file, and then it helps so much. You will be grateful to yourself after a while, like enormously, just because having short description of the project in that particular directory will give you an idea about the files, or even not the general description of the project, but just the idea how did you got those files, how did you process those files, which steps did you follow, and so on. So this is really crucial, just because there is a multiple ways to do things with the sequencing analysis, and then you might not remember at all. So try to keep it documented. That might save you time later. Okay, so we are ready for our first command, which will be to display the current directory. And then, as you know, as you log into the cluster, you are in your home directory, right? So you expect to see your home directory. So what you do, you just type pwd and press enter, and then you will see on the screen the result of the command you run, which will be a home directory. So each of us should see a different directory, right? This is my home directory. You should see slightly different version of that, Right? So you're able to see it? Yep, does it work? If you're locally on your laptop, you should see kind of local directory, right, where you are at the moment. Okay, so this is how we'll be working. We will be typing the command, press enter, and waiting for the result. Okay, so another command, which is the basic one, will be to create a directory. So to create a directory, we type mkdir, which stands for make a directory, right? And then the directory name, right? So we want to give a name to the directory you're creating. Yeah, I mean, this very, it's very tricky, tricky issue. So I encourage never use the space for the names of the directories. So in this particular case, if you put another space, I think it will, in this case, it will not, yeah, I mean, basically it's very hard to create the directories in Unix if you want to have the directory with the space. So I highly don't recommend to do that. And then, yeah, the spaces are important just because here it assumes that you put the space between the command itself and the name of directory. Okay, so if you run this command, press enter, you don't see any message, which is great, right? So if you don't see a message, there is no errors, and then this is great. So basically, if you're doing something wrong, you will be warned by a message saying something is wrong, something didn't went through, and so on. Okay, so let's see another command which will stand for cd, which will stand for change your current working directory. And yeah, so in this case, being located in the home directory, right? So we want to change the current directory to be test. Other words, which is, I guess, more simpler, I will just say, let's go to that particular directory, right? Instead of saying changing your current directory, right? So here we will go to the directory test. If we did it successfully, being located in directory test and running the command pwd, we should see different results which we did before, right? Now we'll see the current directory, which will be the directory test. Okay, so let's do it together. So I will open my terminal. So the way I connect, I just use the Hoffman, and then I will show you tomorrow how not to type the long command SSH and so on, instead just typing a single word. Okay, so being on the Hoffman, so one way you know that you're on the Hoffman, let me make the screen smaller so you can see it. So one way to know that you're on the Hoffman, then, so here you should see the login node, which you connected and so on. So if you type pwd, right, which you did before, you should expect to see your home directory. So we did mkdir test. Okay, so it did exist for me. You should not see this message. So we created the directory test, and then what we do cd test. So which says we want to change our current directory to be test. In other words, we go to the directory test. So I want you to pay attention here. So here there is a tilde, which stands for the home directory. So if you run this command, you don't see tilde anymore, you see the test. So this is basically tells you your current directory, not the full path, right, as we can get with the pwd, but giving you the idea where you're located. You're located in the test directory or you're located in your home directory. Okay, so any questions here? Does it work? Okay, then let's go ahead.
Like if you
No, it's not at all. Yeah, I mean everything. Yeah, the files you're creating, the directories you're creating, they will be under your account, basically forever, until the cluster is alive. Yep. So it's perfectly safe. Yeah, that's the kind of the idea that you will have those files anytime you need to access them. Okay, so the tilde I already told you, right? So tilde stands for your home directory. So there is another notation which is kind of two dots, just like this. So this is the location above the current directory. So think about you're located in directory project under the tree, and you want to go to the directory above. So that will be my home directory. So we'll be saying this many times that being in the current directory, we want to go above, one level up. Yeah, we'll be saying one level up. So other way to view it, if you don't like the tree, you can look from the path perspective, where you have the absolute path right here, and being located in the project, we want to go kind of to directory which is located on the left, right? The directory called Serghei. Okay, so that will be the same as going one level up. Okay, so that will just help you kind of navigate through the system. Think about you have been to the directory, to this home directory, and then you went to directory project. You kind of want to come back, so use this notation. So I do have the example. So at the moment we are located in directory test, right? So this is when we went to. So if you want to go, so being located in any directory on the cluster, far away and so on. If you want to come back to your home directory, all you need to type is cd tilde, or actually just cd will work as well. So type cd tilde or just cd, which will bring you to your home directory no matter where you're located. How do you know that it did work? So you see tilde here, right? That means your home directory. If you want to double check, type pwd, and you will see the full path. Okay, so being located in your home directory, if you want to go one level up, you just type cd two dots. If you want to see it from the path perspective, so being located here, right, in my home directory, or in your case, your home directory, you want to go to this directory, which is first letter of your username, right? You just type cd two dots, and you will get there. How you know that? S is here, as well as you can use pwd. You should expect to see something like this. Okay. Again, you want to come back, just type cd. cd will bring you back to your home directory. Okay, so does it work? Any questions? Okay, let me try as well. So being located in test, we do cd tilde, and which brings us to the home directory. We do pwd, we see our home directory. So if we want to go one level up, we can, and that will be the directory which is called S in my case, and will be another letter for you. Okay, coming back, just cd or cd tilde, it's the same thing, should bring you back to the home directory. So this is kind of high-level idea how you'll be navigating through the system. It's pretty simple, couple of commands, and getting used, I guess, to the things. Okay, so a few tips. So any questions so far? Okay, so a few tips, which I think are extremely important. They will kind of help you to faster navigate through the system. And yeah. So first one is you can see the previously entered command, right? So you type many commands, you press enter, another command. If you ever want to come back, right, and reuse the same command, just use the up and down keys, which will bring you to the previously entered command, which is super nice. Sometimes you run the same command for different files, and the commands are pretty long. You will see as we go through the class, the commands will become longer and longer. So you don't want to type the same long command twice. Instead, maybe you want to go back, get it, and then all you need to change is the file name and run it again. Right? That's the idea. Save your time. Okay. Another thing, and then we'll see how it works exactly. So another thing is autocomplete. So autocomplete, it's a little bit tricky to explain, but basically the idea is that to access the directory, right? Right now what you do cd and you type the full name of the directory. So what about you type the first letter, press tab, and then the directory will appear, right? It will be auto-completed for you. So again, it saves you time. And another tip is that if you get stuck somehow, you open something, you don't know what's going on, so you can try Ctrl-Z, usually that's your friend, and it will get you to the normal environment, to the normal terminal session. Okay, so let's look exactly one by one, how does it work. So the first one is to see the previously entered command. So what I mean by that, just try to type the key up, right? And then you will see everything that you typed today, right? Okay, I guess, okay, that's not yours, yes, right? That's mine. So this is how we get started, right? PWD, right? Okay, so you do see all the commands, especially the recent ones. It's easy to access them. So basically the idea is that you can apply the same commands to the different files and different settings. You can access it. You don't need to type. Okay. Another, the example with autocomplete. So again, the idea is that you're trying to access the directory without explicitly typing the full name, instead typing the first letter, right? So the best motivation I can think about, let's create a directory with very many letters. How about that? mkadir, you know how to do it, mkadir, and then just keep typing, right? Something like this. I think it's enough. Okay, so you did it. So what about I tell you to go to the directory? Quite inconvenient, right? You should be very patient and carefully typing things, right? So instead, all you need to do, press tab. Okay, press the first. Okay, I have to, I think I have, okay, so there is one nuance, so let me fix it. Okay, so don't look. Okay, so let me do it again. Okay, I create the directory with crazy name, and then I need to go to the directory. So press the first letter of that directory and press tab. I have some garbage here. Okay, I'm sorry. So, okay, why I have those things? Okay, so I need to remove a few things to show you really how it works. Test. Okay. Okay, so now I'm ready to show you. So mkadir, the name of the directory, which is long and crazy. Okay, so all you need to do to go to that directory to type the first letter and press tab. So this is how it works. Right? So the first letter and the tab. That's all you need. So it really saves you time. Sometimes directory names are long, and yeah. Also, even the directory is short, I really encourage you to use it. And the reason is it avoids misspelling. If you misspell the name of the directory, you will be not able to get in, right? So by doing the tab, it will always avoid any typos. Okay? Just because if it autocompletes, that means it's correct, right? If you type yourself, there's a probability to type a wrong letter. Okay? Sure.
I'm trying to create a file here.
Uh-huh.
And it says permission denied.
What is that? Okay, so the reason is because you are not in the home directory. It should be there. It's not there. That's why you can. So all the files you can create only in your home directory. So you should do cd, go back to your home directory and do things there. This kind of security issue. Okay, so any questions here? We'll see more kind of tricks which we can use with the tab, with the auto-completion, because there is a couple of things. One of the things that you saw already is because I did have two files which start with the same letter. What are you going to do there, right? So that's why it didn't work for me smoothly. So we will see how to deal with that later. So any questions here? Okay, so this is the example I was describing, so you have it on the slides as well. Okay, so the next thing is how to create the file. So we'll be using the VI, which is the full editor. We have many capacity, many things. We're not going to cover it at all. Instead, we will be just using VI to create a very simple TXT file. It's a little bit tricky, I guess, but let's try to go over it. Okay, so that's how the command will look like. So it says VI, that's the command, that's the editor, the name of the editor, and the file name you want to create. Okay, so if you do so and press enter, you will see kind of the new screen where the full screen will be with the tildes, those signs on the left, and the very bottom will see the name of your file and new file. And the reason there is a new file, because this command is the same as you're editing the existing file or you're creating the new one. You run exactly the same command. The behavior will be different. If the file exists, you will edit it. So you will see the content of that file and you can edit it. If the file does not exist, it will be created for you. Right? So if you see here new file means that the file did not exist, the file was created for you. So now, if you want to edit it, meaning that you want to put some text into the file, so what you do, you press I, and you will see the changes on the bottom of the file, where you will see the word insert, right? So now you know that you're ready to enter something into the file. Okay, so we'll do it together, but I'm kind of trying to give you the overview, and then I will show exactly how this works. Okay, so then we insert something, so we put the text, as many lines as you want. Then if you're done, you press escape here, which will escape, which will close the insert mode. So that message will be gone on the bottom of the file. So now you're ready to save the file. So what you do shift plus semicolon, which give you the column, and WQ. WQ stands for writing and quitting. So basically save the file and exit. If you don't want to save it, you say Q, quit, and exclamation sign, and press enter. Okay, so this is kind of a general idea. Let's try to follow those steps and make a file. Okay, so we do VI, name of the file. And also I encourage you to be in the test directory. Just easier for you, let's keep everything there, and it's just easier to track. Okay, so we do VI, name of the file, and press enter. And then you will notice that something changes, right? You don't it's kind of new window in a sense. It's like, so it's here you see tildes all over, the name of the file, new file, right? So we are creating new file. So if everything looks good, you press I on your keyboard, and then pay attention to here. You will see the previous message is gone, now you see the insert. So meaning that this is the insert mode. You can type the stuff into your file, right? So you can say hello. Oh. Hello. This is my first TXT file. How about that? You can type anything you wish. Okay. So we did insert something into the file. So if you're done with typing, press escape, just because you want to escape the insert mode, right? So pay attention here to the insert, it will be gone. Okay, so now you're ready to save the file. To save the file, you need to type shift semicolon, which gives you the column WQ. So W stands for writing, quit, and Q for quit. Basically, you're saying I want to save the file and exit. So if you want just to exit the file, you say Q exclamation sign. This way, the file will be not saved. Okay, let's save the file, I guess, right? Okay, so if you see this exactly that line, column WQ, press enter, and then you will exit the file, and the file will be saved. Okay, so no errors, everything is fine. Okay, so I think it will take a couple of times to get you comfortable, but then this is how it works. So any questions? Yep, sure. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Cool. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Sure. Okay. So, any other questions? Yeah, we'll see it, I guess, in the end of today's class. There's a special command for that. Okay. Any other questions? Sure.
What if you want to add more text?
Yeah. You do exactly the same thing. So when you do, and then when you do VI on opening the file, you will see the content. And then you press I, insert mode, and you go and edit it. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so now let's see the command which allows us to change the password. Right, so you got your default one, which is probably hard to memorize and so on. Right, so let's change that password. So you can put your own one. So the command for that will be pass WD, and then it's pretty easy. So it will ask you to enter your previous password and the new one twice. Okay, so let's try it. So you do pass WD, press enter. Please enter your current one. So please do so. So that is my one. Okay. And now it asks you for the new one. So make sure that it will be 3 classes, right? It should be obviously letters, a digit, and something of that. Exclamation sign, ampersand, and stuff. Okay, so it should be 3 classes of 4. Okay. So if you decided your password, just type it once. You try. Okay, and do it another time. Once again, press enter. If they match, then I don't want to change my password, so I will not make the next step. But please do if you need. And I think it takes kind of a couple of minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes, to password to be updated. So next time you will log in, use your new password. It should work. Okay. I will just exit because I don't need to change the password. Okay, so any question? Does it work? Changing the password. Okay, so if it works, let's see this next command, which is ls, and then it stands for list the files in your current directory. Right, we just created the file, which is called test.txt, but we don't know how to see it in the directory, right? There is no window we can look at, stuff, right? So what we do, we use the command ls, and then that command will display the files which are located in the files and the directories, which are located in the current directory. Just like that, if I run ls, this is what my file, so 1 file, 2 directories. And the ls does have a couple of commands. I'm sorry, a couple of options. So one of them is L. L stands for the long list. So basically displays a lot of information as when the file was created, how large is the file, and so on. So also, if you want to sort by the modification date, you can use the -t option, and then it will do it for you. -s capital sorts by size. -h is a really nice one, especially if you have large files. So think about you have a file which is 1 GB. So by default, the Unix will show you in bytes, right? So you need to count how many zeros, 1, 2, 3, oh, that's a million probably. So by doing -h option, that will tell you nice format. If you have a file in gigabytes, it will show gigabyte, maybe megabytes, kilobytes, and so on. So it's really nice. And then if you're sorting the file and you want the reverse order, use -r. So the good thing, you can combine the option. For example, you want to see the long list and as well as the human readable format. Please combine -l and h. And then that will do it for you, right? Let's see the example. Okay, so now we have a file. I mean, we do have a directory and the file, right? This directory with the crazy name that we created and the file. So this is what we will see if we do ls. So if we do ls -l, then we'll see the long list. And the long list means that we see when the file or directory was created, the size. So this is what I was talking about, the human readable format, right? So the directory was around 4,000 bytes, or other words, 4 kilobytes, right? So this was non-human readable format. So here is not a big deal, right? You just count 3 digits and then you know that's kilobytes. But think about this as gigabytes, so many digits. It's not quite convenient. So all you need to do is just add h right here, and then boom, you got nice format, which gives you idea about the size of the directories of files. Okay, so do you want to try? So the first one will be just ls. And also what is nice, on the Hoffman, you do see the files and directories to be in the different colors, as directories will be all the time in the blue, and files will be kind of in white. So what about ls -l? Give you the long list. Okay, and ls -lh gives you the human readable format. Okay. So any questions here? Does it work? Okay, so let's see what is next. Okay, so if you want to know more, right, you know ls. You know that it does display you the directories and the files in your current directory, but you don't remember the parameters, or you want some additional parameters. Let's say sort by by the date we have, by something else. Let's have some additional parameters. So, or you want to use the parameters we covered, but you don't have the slides handy, and so on. So, how you would get this information? So, I guess there is 2 ways. So, one is more old-fashioned, where there is a manual. So, every command has the manual. So, you can look carefully through it, try to find it, and so on. And I guess the way which is newer due to the web availability, you can use the Google and then get the answer, I guess, faster. Just because you will see exactly what you need instead of going through the manual trying to find it. Okay, so this is how the manual will work. So there is a command called man. MAN, and then so you say man, which stands for the manual, and then you put here the name of the command you're curious to know about, and then press enter, and then you will see the manual, long with detailed description and so on. So when you're done reading, to exit, you should use Ctrl-Z, and then that will bring you to your normal terminal. So let's do it together. So we do man. So we do man ls and press enter. Okay, and then you can read through. Just press, use up and down keys. Okay. So the alternative way will be just Googling. So say, for example, I want to sort by date. I even did this typo here, but then it still was fine. So this is what it is. How to sort the output ls by the last modified date. And then I guess the key here that you need to say which command you're interested in, right? So I do say ls here. And I guess that's it, sort by date. I'm saying I did typo here, but it still works. Google doesn't care. Okay, and then if you click here, the very first one, this is what you will see, and then I'm sure you can recognize it. All right, this is the answer. So it tells you which option do you need to provide to sort by date. And then if you want reverse order, here you go, just add R, right? So now since you know all about ls, those things, I guess, make sense, right? So they are there, waiting for you on the web, so if you need them. Okay, any questions? Okay, yeah, the key is that you need to provide the name of the command that you're interested in. Otherwise, there is you should narrow your search space. Otherwise, there is too much information. Okay, no questions. Let's see the wildcard in Unix. So we'll be using the star for that. So the idea is that if you, for example, have many files being in your directory, let's say you have 1,000 files, and what you want to do, you want to see the ones which are txt files. And txt file means that those files ends with txt, right? It has the extension txt, or even maybe better say .txt. Okay, so this is how you will do. You will say ls star txt, meaning that you want to look at the files which ends with txt. And then as a result, you should see only those right here, right? So you can read it. I mean, usually I see it as you say that in the beginning of the file, I might have everything I wish, and then in the end, it should be necessarily txt, right? So better say .txt just to be more precise. So if you want to see the files which starts with T and ends with G, so you can do that again by using the star. So you say file should start with T star G and ends with G. And then you should see files, for example, this one, where this starts from T and ends with G. If you want to see the files which starts with T, you can do it by saying T star. And then you will see both files, test.log and test.txt. Okay, so let's try it. I guess I should have some examples. Okay, not yet. Maybe I think I will combine with the another example. Okay, so we'll try it, the star. But now let's see how we'll display the file in Unix. So there is many ways how you can do it, and I guess the main question you want to ask before you will display the file will be the most crucial thing: how many lines does the file have? Right? If the file has kind of very small amount of file lines, you're fine by using the cat. Because the cat, what it will do, it will just will display the file onto your screen. And the thing is, if you have the file composed of the million lines or like thousands of lines, so what you will be seeing, you will be kind of seeing file flying in front of you. So what it will be trying, the Unix will try to display the file till the very end, right? So you will see it kind of keep displaying, so which is not nice. It's not useful at all. So yeah, so that's the thing. So with the cat, please make sure that the file is small. Another command is less, and here we will be kind of scrolling through the file without using the mouse, right? And the head and the tail, you can guess it from the name. That comes to seeing the head of the file, the first several lines from the file, and the tail, several lines in the end of the file. Okay, so the cat, so again, it dumps the entire file on the standard output. In our case, this is the screen, and then this is how it works. Just you do cat and the name of the file, you will see the whole file on your screen. Okay, so let's try. So we do cat, the name of the file. So here I encourage you to use the tab. So please try. So you do T and the tab. And the file will be auto-completed for you, right? So that will, again, avoid any typos. It's because if the autocomplete was finished, kind of, that's, everything is nice. Instead, let's see if I do the typo. So I will get the error, no such file or directory, right? To avoid it, again, try to use the tab. I think it's a good habit to have, and then that really speeds you up as you're navigating through the system. Okay. So this is how the cat works, right? We see the whole file on the screen. Any questions here? So more sophisticated way to view the file will be less, where you kind of scrolling through the file, but you don't use the mouse. So how it's possible? So when we do the less, we have two options. To scroll by one line, so basically you have a window, which is the size of your screen through which you're looking at the file. Right? So all you do, you click up and down, and then you shift the window. As there is another option, then you do space or B, because I think they did it for convenience. They're located above each other. So, and then you will scroll by one page. So that will be something like this, right? Okay, so this is how it works. And then if you're done scrolling and stuff, just press again Ctrl-Z, and then you will get back. Okay, so let's try. But for that, we need to create a file, because we don't have large file enough to scroll it, right? So let's create a file which is large enough. So let's say the file which is composed of 30 lines. On every line you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on, right? So let's do that. That will be another occasion to practice VI, right? Okay, so we should use VI to create a file which we'll call large.txt, and the file will have a number of each line on each line. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay, so VI large.txt, press enter. Okay, so you're in the file. That's a new file. The file did not exist before, as you can see. Press I to go to the insert mode, and just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. 11. Almost there. 21, 22. Okay, So 30 lines to be, we just put it in the file. So let's save it. Right, and the way to save it, so you press escape to exit the insert mode, and you type shift semicolon, which gives the column, WQ, and press enter. So if you did everything right, the file should be there. Okay, so now the file more or less is large, so we can kind of try this scrolling thing. So if you do less, large.txt, you will see the portion of a file which fits your terminal. In my case, my terminal is really narrow, and I just did it for your convenience, as well as I did the large font, right? So I can see only 5 lines. So if I scroll up and down, this is how it will look like, right? I can scroll all the way, but it scrolls by one line. So if I want to scroll faster, I can scroll kind of by one page, which will mean by the size of my terminal. So B and space, which are located above each other. So you may notice that now I'm scrolling much faster, right? Okay, so I reach the end. You can see that this tells me that that's the end of the file, and go back. Okay, so this is how it works. So no mouse, but you're still able to scroll. So I think if you will be dealing a lot of times with the large files, usually I use less straight away, just because it's safe. This way I don't need to care if the file large or small. It's just safe to open any file using the less. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so another command which gives you the head of the file, the first, by default it gives you first 10 lines will be head. So if you want to specify how many lines do you want to see, then you should say -n and number of the lines, just like this, where here you say head large.txt, where it will tell you the it will show you the first 10 lines of the file. So if you're interested in the last 10 lines of the file, you should use a tail. If you want less or more, you should say -n and tell exactly how many lines do you want to see. So in this case, we do tail for the file, which we just created, large.txt, and then we see the 10 lines from that file. If we want to see just exactly 3 lines, we can do just -n number, like 3 lines, and then the name of the file. Okay, so any questions here? Yeah, that's a good question. So you would need to combine two. So basically, if you want, so you should do, like, let's say you want exactly middle, right? Having the file of, I don't know, like 100, you want to see like between something 50 and 60, right? So what you do, you say head. Actually, yeah. So you need to combine those two, but then you need to know one more thing, and which we'll cover. So remind me, then we'll be talking about pipeline. So I will show you exactly how to do it. So there is one thing missing. Okay, so let's see. Let's try it together, I guess. So we do head -n 50. I'm sorry, 10. I mean, let's do head, just head, large.txt. So we'll see 10 first lines from the file. Okay, they are here. I think the reason I see, yeah, I skipped 10, but so that doesn't matter. Because it should be 10 here for you, probably, if you were accurate, but I skipped the 10, that's why it is 11. Okay, so we can do the same thing with the tail, right, to see the tail of the file. Okay, and then if we're interested in only in the 3 lines from the file, we should say -n and the number of lines we want to see, and then this is how it will look like. Because yeah, so because your first line is empty, right? Because when you were typing, you press the enter, right, and you kind of created the last line to be empty line. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, so you have a lot of alternatives, again, to how to see the files, to display the files. And again, my personal experience that majority of the time I use the less, unless I need particularly know something about beginning and end of the file, right? So there is something important. Because one particular reason to be kind of concerned about the end of the file, because if you're transferring the files, they might be truncated, like not the whole file was copied. So you kind of want to see the end and make sure that it looks all right as expected. The file looks like not truncated and so on. But other than that, I guess less. Usually I just straight away use less. This way I don't need to care, is the file large or small? It will work anyway, in any case. Okay, so any questions? Okay, so let's separate kind of topic we want to talk about. That will be about copying the files, right? So right now we know how to create the files, how to create the directories, how to see what is inside the directories. This is a separate thing that is about to copy the files, to move the files, and to remove the files. Okay, and the reason I have those pictures here is I was trying to say that there is a difference between copying the files and moving the files. I think the difference might be obvious, maybe you just didn't think about that, but then when we talk about copying the files from computer science perspective or the Unix perspective, then we say when we copy the file, we take the instance, that file, and then we physically move it, right, somewhere else. Being located in this directory, we physically move to another one. I'm sorry, I'm taking it back, so I was talking about move. So when we copy the file, so we create the copy of that file, right? So the original file will be preserved, right? So given the file in the directory, so what you do, you create exactly the copy of that file and place it somewhere else. So the original one will be untouched, that will be preserved. And when we're talking about the moving, so this is exactly that we physically change the location of the file. So the original file, as a result, will be not preserved. So this is kind of the idea behind. And there is a dramatic difference in terms of the speed and overall the behavior of those two commands. And the reason is that if you do copy, what Unix will do, it will go through a file line by line, and then will create the copy. So it will take a lot of time, as well, and you will double the space, right? Because you will keep the original file and you created the new one. So you double the space which you take on the system. As moving costs you basically nothing from the computational perspective, from the time, just because on the hardware level of the Unix, nothing's happening. Because you do have the file physically somewhere on the cluster. And there is a label saying that file is located in that directory. So when you're saying, I am moving the file from one directory to another one, all Unix needs to do to go to that file, which is located on that hardware spot, and then change the label. So it's a matter of seconds. Doesn't matter how large is the file. As soon as you're not moving across the system, if Hoffman is pretty complex, I don't think we'll be dealing with that. But if you're under your account, you'll be totally fine. But if you're trying to copy it across the partitions and stuff like that, that might take longer. But usually it takes seconds. So basically what does it mean for you? That if you will be organizing your files, this will be super fast. Just because moving, it's very easy. Okay, so, and then removing, nothing to talk, I guess, here, just removing the files from your, from the cluster. Okay, so any questions? I think I should have some, okay, so I will have exactly the instructions. How to copy the files and how to move the files and so on. Okay, so to copy the files, we will use this syntax where we'll say copy, source file, the original file, and the destination where we want the file to copy. When we'll be copying the directories, we will say -r, and -r will stand for recursive, if you're curious to know. And then the reason why, just because in your directory might be another directory, and that directory might contain another directory, right? So you want to go kind of all the way. You want to copy all the directories and subdirectories and so on, which is located in your directory which you're copying. Okay. Also, you can use -r, -i, and then that will tell you the status, right? It will tell you like 20% done, I guess, or some messages will keep you informed. Also, there is an issue of if you're copying the file somewhere else, but the file with the same name exists. You might, so we will later, I guess, or today or tomorrow, we will see how to change the configuration of your system. This way you will kind of be, will get alert in that case, because by default you don't. So basically, if you're trying to remove a file, it will be gone immediately. You will not get the warning as you used to get on your laptop, right? Do you really want to remove the file? Really? Yes. Really? Yes. And so on. You will not get that by default. So what we'll do, we'll find a way how you will get this additional layer of security, so you will be prompted all the time. Do you want to remove that file, or in this case, like, do you want to override that file or not? And this is, sometimes you know that you do want, right? You don't want to be asked. So you say -f, and you say, I'm 100% sure that you want to override that file. So you basically you force the system to override it without kind of prompting you about the warnings. Okay? And then -v, yeah, so this is the the mode where you will see the progress and so on. Okay. So let's see some examples. So we do have the file which is called test.txt, and we want to create a copy of it. So I guess there is very many ways how you would think about copying the files, right? So I was trying to put all of them here. So if you think of anything else, let me know, which is not covered. Okay, so we start with copying. Better say, I guess, creating the copy of that file in the current directory, right? So given the file test.txt, we want to create the copy of it and give a name to that copy, which will be test1.txt. So by running this command, in the same directory, we'll have a copy of the file, and the copy will be called test1.txt. So it's right here. Okay, so to do next thing, we'll need to create a directory which is called new, and then what we will do, and then actually, yeah, so we create a directory new, and then what we want to do, we want to copy the directory new. Or again, better say, to create a copy of the directory new in the same directory. So if you remember, when we are copying the directories, we are using -r, and then as a result, we should see, so that was the original directory. After running this command, we should see the copy of that directory, which we called new2. Okay. So we can also copy the file to some other directory, right? We don't necessarily need to create a copy of the file in the same directory. So here I'm trying to copy the file to the directory which is called new. And then if you notice here, I don't provide the name of the copy, right, to be. So by doing that, the original name will be preserved, right? So in this directory new, the name of the copy will be exactly the same as the original file. But you can combine both, kind of copying the file and giving new name. So here I copy the file, which is called test.txt. I copy it to directory new, and I give a new name. Yes. Not necessarily, but then again, we'll talk about this later, but then you will need to provide the path to the file, right? Because here we don't provide the path. We just say the file name, assuming that we are in the current directory. But if you want to access the file being located somewhere else, you need to provide the path. Kind of as we do here, a little bit. Just because that file is not in the current directory. That's why we say the directory name. Okay, so any other questions?
I don't think I understand this path here for the
Which one?
copying the file into a new directory.
Sure.
So
Like here, right?
you don't point the destination, but no.
No, here the idea is that you copy that file, right? This one. This is the file you want to copy.
Yeah.
But you want to copy not to the current directory, but somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So you're copying the file to the directory which is called new.
Oh, okay.
And you are preserving the original name. So as a result of this, in the directory new, you will see basically the same file with the same name. As here, we will give a new name. So in the directory new, you will see the same file, but with a different name. Yep. It might be a little bit confusing, but those, I guess, all the possibilities you might think of doing the copying. I didn't find any more. Okay, so questions? Okay, so let's try one by one. Sure, go ahead.
Just for the CP minus R,
Mm-hmm.
you said it's a command to a directory.
No, it's command to copy the directory. Minus R stands for recursive, so when you will be copying the directory, you necessarily need to provide this option minus R all the time.
No, but on the previous slide,
Mm-hmm.
so
You mean minus F, maybe? No, I was just talking about removing, kind of jumping ahead. Maybe that was confusing. So, in terms of the commands, I was just talking about minus F, which it forces you to do something.
okay.
But then, yeah, let's talk, I guess, separately about removing, because might be.
Just because I think the slides are a bit different.
Are they? Or is-
Yeah, because here's to remove a file in CP. And to remove the
Oh, okay. So I will. Okay, so yeah, let me update. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. I will update. Okay, so no more questions. Let's try to go over the commands one by one. Oop. Okay, so those are. Okay, so the first thing we try is just create a copy of the file. So cp file name test1.txt. Okay. So if you're curious to see the result, do ls, and then you will see the copy that was created, and the name of that you gave it was test1.txt. So to do the next command, we'll need to create the directory, which will be new. And now we'll copy the directory. We'll create a copy of the directory new, and we'll give a name which will be new2. Right? So we'll create a copy of the directory new with the name new2. Okay, so if you do ls, you should see both directories, your original one right here and the one which was created, new2. Okay, so if you want to copy the file to some other directory, you can do so. Okay, so I think it's a really good opportunity to show more about the tab. So let's take a second, because this gets really interesting in the sense that if you notice, we have two files which starts with T. I'm not sure if you're using the tab, but if you notice I'm using the tab, it doesn't work as it requires one trick to know kind of to operate it. So you can see that we do have two files, right? One file test1.txt, another file test.txt. And both of them start with T. So that previous tree kind of will not work, right? You start T, and then the Unix doesn't know which path to follow, right? Do we want that file or that one? Okay, so let's see. If we want to do, like I'm typing the command, cp, and then say T and the tab. So it will auto-complete for me till the moment where the ambiguity starts, right? And then it starts right here, 1 or dot, right? This is what we need to decide. If we want to go with this file, that should be dot here. If we want to go with this file, it should be 1. So I will go with this file, so that's why I put the dot, and the dot will resolve the ambiguity. So press the tab once again, and then it will be auto-completed for you. Of course, here it's too simple, kind of. You think that, no, I will type. But think about the long names and so on. So it's really, again, nice, and then we'll let you use the autocomplete to get the file name almost without typing. Another trick is that, so let's try once again. So another trick is if you have very many files in your directories, and then you don't want to be distracted from typing the command, because that's kind of think about the Unix. You don't want to go back and forward. You don't want to go back and forward between your keyboard and your mouse and stuff like this. You want to be in a single line all the time. So think about, I have very many files in the directory, and then I start type, and then I don't know what's next. I don't know what my possibilities are, right? I don't know what's going on there. One possibility, of course, says, okay, delete this stuff, say ls, look for thousands of lines, and so on, right? But I get distracted, right? I don't want that. I want to be in a single line all the time. I don't want to go back and forward, so on. Which really gives you the speed. If you're a single line all the time, you will achieve things faster rather than switching things. So how to do that? So I do cp, name of the file, and here I press tab twice, like click, 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 click. So this is, so what you see possibilities that I have, right? Which are the kind of, what stops me from autocomplete? What is the ambiguities, right? So looking there, it's clear to me. I should just press that and say another tab. And here you go, I got the file name. Okay. So again, that's a toy examples. Then think about the real situation where you have very many files, and you want to navigate files, distinguish those, you want to get, okay? And then the idea is like to be in the single command all the time, which really gives you the speed. Okay, so any question? Does it work this twice, tab twice? So let me show you again. So you do cp, name of the file, and then at this point there is ambiguity, you want to know what's going on, tab, like click, click, twice. So I think it's like, if you do it, if I do it twice, it somehow doesn't work, so I should start over. I don't know why. Okay. Okay, now it works. So it gives you one chance, basically. It doesn't want to give another one. So click, click, tap twice, and then you will get those possibilities, and then you decide which you want, and go ahead. You might do, think about, you might do a couple of steps like that to get your full file name and so on. Okay, so any questions here about this? Okay, so that was kind of side note for those of you who wants to be efficient and stuff like this. Okay, so cp, so we do cp, we come back, so we say what? We do cp of the file, and then we want to place it to the directory, the copy want to place it to directory new, or other words, copy the file to the directory new. Okay. By doing, okay, we did it, so let's go to the directory new and see if the file is there, right? ls, right, the file is there with the same name. This is what we want, right? To copy the file and preserve the name. Okay, another command will be to copy the file but give a new name. So here I encourage you to use the previous command. If you press the key up, you should be able, a couple of times, you should be able to see the previous command. But this is exactly what you need. So all you need to do, just type here the new name, right? Again, the command is small, you say I can't do it, but then think about long commands, right? So we use the previously entered commands and slightly modifying them. That's, I guess, the style like we'll be using a lot. We'll be using the previous command because things you're doing, they are pretty similar in many cases, like we did right now. Okay, so copying the file to the directory new, and we give a new name. Okay. Yeah, because, and then it didn't work for me, just because I am in the directory new. And there is, this is what it tells me, there is no file test.txt. So I should kind of go back and do it all again, because I need to be in the test directory to do that. Okay, so let's go to directory new and we'll do ls, and we should be able to see both files, the result of those two commands. This one and this one. Okay, so any questions about copying? Okay, so let's go to the move. So in the move, so as I mentioned, it's super fast, super nice, and then especially nice if you're organizing your files, right? You're creating the directories and so on. You move the files back and forward and so on. Okay, so it works kind of similar, except that if you're copying the directory, you don't need to say -r. So all the time you say you do move, you move the same way the files or directories. There is no -r option. Also, the move will be used to rename the files as well. So moving the files, renaming the files, you're using the move, mv directory. I'm sorry, the command. Okay, so let's go to directory test. This is where we start. And then move the file, which is called test1.txt, to the directory new. So as you remember, we physically kind of take the file and move it. So the original file will be not preserved, right? That's because we moved the file. So the file should end up here, right, in directory new. So if you want to rename the file, you use exactly the same command. So you say move old name, new name. That's all you need. And the file will be renamed. You can do two things simultaneously, where you will move the file and rename it at the same time. So you move the file, which is called test.txt, to directory new, and you give a new name, which is called test2.txt. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so let's go to the test directory and try those things. So move test1 to directory new. You can put the slash or you cannot. It will be basically the same thing. Right here. So we move the file, which is called test1.txt, to directory which is called new. So remember, the original is not preserved, right? Which means that if we do ls in the current directory, we should not see the file anymore. The file is here in the directory new. Okay. What about renaming? So move test.txt and give a new name, test rename.txt. Okay. Press enter, and then you should see the result of rename, right? You should see the file with the new name. Okay, so let's see the last thing, I guess, where we will move the file to the directory new, and they will give a new name, test2.txt. I mean, this is what exactly we did right here. You use the same command, move, but then you say old name, new name. So you don't move the file, you just rename. But the reason is just because though renaming and moving, they're the same kind of, from the computer perspective. That's why we're using it. Right, yeah. Okay, so here we move the file, at the same time we rename it, right? It's doing two things. Okay. So any questions here? Okay, I think you should remember just that copying is nice, but just be aware that you need to copy. So I get the scenario when you want to copy the things is that you really want to preserve the original file and do something with the file, the copy of the file, right? And yeah, or like somebody shares the data with you, and then you need to modify the file. If somebody shares the data, and then you don't need to modify the file, I don't think you need to copy it, right? So I will show you in a second how to access it nicely. But then the only reason to create a copy that you want to change it eventually, right? Otherwise, there is no reason to keep two identical files. As moving, you will be using it a lot to organize your file, to copy the file back and forward in the directories. Okay. So coming back to this discussion of copying the files, moving. So if somebody shares the data with you, right? So the data is located somewhere under his partition, under his directories. You don't want to change the data. If you do want to change the data, make a copy and go ahead. Because basically, first of all, you can't change somebody else's data, right? Of course, it's not nice and so on, but even Unix will not let you go into that. It will just prevent you from the very beginning. You can change only your data, right? You can't change somebody else's data. So again, if somebody shares the data with you, you don't want to change it, then don't copy it, right? So the only reason to copy, or you think somebody will delete it eventually, of course, copy it, right? But just doubling this, making the space double doesn't make sense. So let's think about the scenario that you don't need to change the data, which somebody shares with you. Alternatively, you do have the data stored somewhere on your account, but like far away in terms of the directories, somewhere. So this is, I think, similar when you create the shortcuts on your desktop, right? The original file is located somewhere on the many levels of directories, but you want to access it regularly, so you do a shortcut under your desktop. So the same kind of idea here. We want to create a shortcut, or we'll call it symbolic link, to have it handy under the current directory, but the real file will be somewhere far away, or it might even belong to somebody else. So this is how it will look like. So this is the data on the hard drive right here, and then that's the original file. So it's kind of pointing to that data on the hard drive. And what we'll do, we'll just create a link which will be pointing to that original file. So then so what is the advantage of that? So giving the link under your current directory, you can do everything with the link what you would do with the file. You can you can check the file, you can look inside, you can count number of lines, you can move it and stuff like that. I think you can modify it as well, but I strongly don't recommend to do it, because even think about this is your file. So theoretically, you will be able to modify the data through this link. It's super confusing, because you will change the link, the original file will be changed. So it will be too complicated. So I would not recommend doing that. I will just use the link as a shortcut to have the file available to you here. If you need to modify the file, go to the original file and do that, because otherwise it might be too confusing. You forget that you changed it, the original one, you didn't realize so it will get too complicated and too confusing. So this is how we'll do. So being in the current directory, we want to create the link to the file being located somewhere else. Maybe somebody else have the file, or it's just being located somewhere far away. So we create the symbolic link. That's why we say ln-s. We say the name of the original file and the link name. So the original file and the link. Okay, so as I mentioned, that you can do all the operation you can think of, except modifying the file with the link. And then, so basically from that perspective, there will be no difference between the link and the original file. So those commands like copying, removing, moving, and so on, you can apply to the link. Okay, so let's see how we'll do it. So one thing to know that we'll need to use the absolute path. So what's mean absolute path? The absolute path then is the path which gives you kind of your home and so on. So this is the long path saying where the file is located. And the reason is that we need to use the absolute path. I think we'll have some slides later discussing, but then there is a conception of the relative path where, for example, instead of your home directory, you can put the tilde, you know, like as a shortcut, as we did before. But it's not good just because, I mean, tilde is all right because you will not, will be your home directory. But any other assumptions like one level up and stuff like this, which tells about the relationship between the current directory and where the file is located. And then if you change the current directory, this assumption breaks. So I really encourage you again to use the absolute path when we do create the link. Okay. So, so in this case, we'll create, so being located in directory new2, we will create the link to the file which is located in the test directory. And the name of the file is test1.txt. So here I do put /, and then will stand for the fact that I'm not changing the name, right? So I will preserve the name. So the link will have exactly the same name as the original file. So if you want to change the name, give a new name to the link, just put the name here. Okay, so if we do run that command, so the how the output. Okay, so how to know that we did create the link? We should look inside that directory, and what you should see, I think it will be, we'll see it in a second, will be different color. I think yeah, green or something, right? But we'll see. And then there will be the error pointing to the original file. So this way you can distinguish between the real files and the links. Okay, so let's try, I guess, so to make it. Okay, so we need to go to directory new2, where we will create the link ln-s, but then we need the absolute path. One way, you just remember it, probably you don't, so what we do pwd, and we do copy-paste. So that's another thing where the Windows is different from the Mac. So from the Mac, we just copy-paste, like Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V. For the Windows, you highlight the text and then right-click. I have a video on the web page which tells you exactly how to do it. So does it work? Highlight and right-click. Yeah, does it work? Are you looking for it? Okay. Okay. So anybody else want to do this? Okay, so yeah, so this is the way. So ln-s, we need to copy this part, copy paste, and then say which file. Test. We don't have it there. So let's do large. That's it. It doesn't matter. All right, because I mean, of course, you can type it if you remember it, but probably don't. So you need to copy paste. Okay. So you do so, and then you do ls. Okay, even from ls it's clear. You see different color, right? And it's kind of a sign that it's not a real file. But if you do ls-l, that will be immediately clear. You do have the error pointing to the original file. right? This way you know that's a link, that's not a real file. Okay? So again, coming back to this discussion of having one-line solution, right? So how you would do here, right? I don't want to copy paste by going back and forward. So one way, just remember, right? If you remember your path, just type it. But if you don't, that's the alternative way I want you to show. So you do ln -s, and here at this point you use the shortcut, and the shortcut the kind of the command or the abbreviation, which will be $pwd. If you do, and then everything low uppercase, pwd /, and if you press tab, which will give you the current directory. In this case, it gives me the file because that's a single file in the directory, but usually it gives you the current directory. Okay, then all you need to do is modify that a little bit. Put L, press tab, /. But again, this is the whole discussion about how to make one-line solution. Right? It's nothing more than that. You already have the solution. We just discussed copy-paste. If you find with that, I mean, it's totally okay. So I'm trying to explain how you would do it in the single line. Okay, so this is how we would do. So again, ln -s, pwd, and tab, modified it, just like this, /. Okay, so this is what you do. So this way you will create again the link, which would preserve the original name, right? That's why we put // right here. Okay, it already exists. That's why I can't create it again because we already did. Okay, so any questions here? Sure. It just tells you. Okay, so it tells you the current directory, and then I can modify it in the way that I will access that one, which I need. But usually the way you can do, I mean, I think it's the same in the sense that it's a good start because the home directory is slightly complicated. So if you remember, you can type it, but then that gives you the start. So what you need to do, you need to modify it as much as you need and start from there. You know. Okay, or you can do copy-paste from the directory that you know. Okay, so any questions here? Okay, so this is the formal way how you can copy-paste the PuTTY, but looks like it works. I'm sorry? Okay, so this is the formal way if you need to ever come back. How to copy-paste in PuTTY for the Windows, that's the formal way. And also the video is on my webpage. Somebody really nicely explains it, so if you ever need it. Okay, so we are coming how to remove the files. So, right, so now we know the difference between copying the files, moving the files. We kind of understand in which cases we want to copy the file, or we just need to move the file, or we create the symbolic links. So removing files is pretty simple, right? You don't like the file, you remove it, right? Or you don't like the directory, you remove it. The only thing is, like, be careful with that because there is no really backup on Hoffman, right? So something you delete, it's kind of deleted forever. So be careful with that. So what I will suggest you, we will together will create the additional layer of security for you, where as on your laptop, you have this warning saying, do you really want to remove the file? Yes, no, and so on. So we don't have it by default on the system, but we will do in the way that you will get those warnings. And also we'll show you how to do the backup. So given very important data you want to preserve, you make an archive of the data and you copy it locally and store it in case that was deleted. That's kind of two ways you can deal with accidentally removing the files. Okay, so remove works as simple as it is. So RM stands for remove, and then you put the file name. If you want to remove the directory, you should use -R option and then the name of the directory. Okay, so pick up the file that you don't like and then just remove it. I go to directory new. There is bunch of files there. I will pick up one and remove it. Test1.txt. So basically, I can't. I mean, I can, but I will get this warning, which you don't. But this is what when we will configure out your profile in the sense of this additional security. This is what you will be getting, right? It's kind of additional. So I say yes if I'm sure, and then that will be removed. So if you want to remove the directory, I go back to the directory test. I pick up the directory. Let's say I want to remove the directory new2, and I do so. rm -r, because again, that should be recursively, because we want to remove the directory which is located inside the directory and so on. New2. Okay, press enter. Again, I get this warning which you don't, but we'll get there soon. And then it tells me all the files which are inside. Okay, so you will get it. I mean, we'll configure out the system. Okay, let's see. Okay, so directory was removed. So any questions here?
If you remove something wrong, can you recover it?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes you can, sometimes you can, but there is, let's say like this, they don't guarantee the backup of the files. They might help you to do so, but they might not succeed. Yeah, that's why I will push hard on the security issue, and you will have these warnings, as well as you will show you how to back up the data.
I have another question.
Sure.
If you don't use the recursive command and you delete the directory, what happens? It's just delete the
Let's try.
all the files go to
Actually, I never tried, to be honest. Let's try. Yeah, just give you the warning. Yeah. Yeah, this is so sometimes you can answer the question by yourselves, just trying. Any other questions? Okay, so my plan is to finish today a little bit faster, just because kind of easy day, and then we'll take a kind of break tomorrow. I'll be out of this town for the conference, and then we'll continue Thursday and Friday. Okay, so kind of things which is good to know. So you can copy several files at once, right? You say, and then you give a list. I want to copy file 1, file 2, file 3, and so on to the directory new. Okay. Or you want to remove multiple files. Just list the list, just give a list, and then it will remove all the files. Also, you can use the star, the wildcard, where you say, I want to move all the files which starts with F to the directory which is called new, right? So all the files which start with F will be moved. Also, with the removing, so here it's become dangerous. So you can remove all the files which start with F. So my suggestion is then you're removing something with the star, just be very careful. Because the extreme is just say rm star, or better rm -r star. Remove all the directories, all the files in the current directory, which is kind of dangerous. So be kind of sure to kind of, if you're doing the star, be sure that you know what exactly you want to remove. Okay, so here we will remove all the files which starts with F. Or here we will remove all the file which starts with L and ends with S. And then here we will remove all the files which are txt files, which ends with txt. And then as I said, you can do just rm and the star, or rm -r star, which will remove everything. Okay, okay, so any questions here? So let's see. Okay, so let's talk. I guess we will have a time to talk about the accidental loss. So there is like kind of 3 strategies you can adopt to prevent the accidental loss. One will be the backup. So what you do, you copy the file from the server to your laptop or any external hard drive, and you store it secure and so on. That's one way. Another additional way, I guess, will be modify your personal Linux environment, meaning that you will get this additional layer of security, which will be keep asking you, do you want to remove the file, do you want to override the file, and so on, which of course does not guarantee not removing the data, but at least gives additional layer of security. And another possibility, which we'll cover in day 2, which basically you take out your access to modify the file. There is a command which can modify the access for the file, kind of the permission level. It's like, can you just look in the file? Can you modify the file? So basically what you do is say, for you as a user, you can't modify that file. So you will not have a way to remove that file. So that also works. Okay, so 3 ways. And 2 of them we'll cover right now. So to do backup, so we'll create, we'll first of all make an archive in any format, and we'll copy it to the laptop. And then from there, you can, or directly you can copy to the hard drive. Okay, so to create the archive, there is many ways, like there is zip, this star, so we'll be using TGZ format, and then for that, this is the command you will be using, tar czf, name of the archive you want to be created, and the directory which you want to back up. Right, say that you have very important information in this directory which you want to copy on your laptop. So first step you do, you create the archive just to compress the data, so it will be easier kind of to transfer, because it takes time to transfer big data between the hard drive, I'm sorry, between the cluster and the laptop. Okay? And so if you've successfully run this command, you should see the archive right here, and then you might notice that you see it in red, just again for your convenience, that archives are in different colors, so you can kind of distinguish them. Okay, so let's try to create the archive first. I'm not even sure. This is the command how you would create the TGZ. I'm sure this stands for something, but basically it tells you that you want to create the archive with 7 options. I'm sure if you Google it, it will tell you. I just don't remember. Okay. So let's do tar. Okay, so we need to pick up the directory. We know which we want to do this one. New, right? So we do tar minus czf, name of the archive. So it should be tgz, that's just the format, and then the directory new, right? So this is how we will create the archive. I mean, it's in the directory where that directory you're trying to create the archive is located. So where you do have the directory which you want to create to zip it, to archive it, so this is where you should be located. Yeah, I mean, you can, but then in this case, you need to provide the path to your home right here. Because by default, the archive will be located in the same directory you are in right now. Right? Both files, I mean, this file is in your current directory, and this file is in your current directory. So if you want to change it, you should provide the path right here to where you want the archive to be saved to. So if you want home, you should do like this. Right? So this way you will create the archive from this directory, and you will place the archive in your home directory. This is what shortcut stands for. Okay, so let's create this. How we check that it's there, do ls. So it's in red, you cannot miss it. Okay, so we do have the archive kind of ready for us to transfer it from the laptop, I'm sorry, from the cluster to the laptop or to the external hard drive. Okay, so this is kind of high-level idea, how you will copy the files from the laptop to the cluster and from the cluster to the laptop. So this will work when you're transferring the file between Unix-based machines. So cluster is Unix-based. If you're using Mac, that's Unix-based. Windows is not. So for Windows, I will show you alternative way to do it, which is as efficient as this one. So basically, we're using the graphical interface to drag and drop files. But I encourage you still to listen, just because that procedure can be used to transfer the files between two clusters. So given you have a data in one cluster and then you want to transfer to another cluster, you can use exactly the same way as we'll be describing. Okay, so to copy the file from the machine, from your local machine to the cluster, which will be like this, SCP. SCP stands for secure copy. And you say the name of the file, you say your username, the name of the cluster, and then the path where you want the file to be placed on the server. If you're copying the file from the cluster to the local machine, you do SCP, your username, the Hoffman2 address, and so on, path where the remote file is located, and then in this case I say /, which stands that I want to copy that remote file to the current directory. Otherwise, I can just provide the directory right here. Okay, this kind of high-level idea. Okay, so once again, this is the file located on the laptop in the current directory you want to copy. Okay, where? So how we'll do it? We do have our terminal. So to copy, then we will be copying the file both directions. You will do it from the local session, right? So right now we have a session which corresponds to the cluster. So what we need to do, we need to do Ctrl-T to open the new tab. Well, I guess there is another way to do it, like the same way you opening the tabs on your browser, right? So it will kind of the same. So we open the new tab. That will be tab corresponding to the local session. So we will be running those two commands from there, both ways. And then basically you don't need to do anything, because by opening new session, that will be by default the local session corresponding to your laptop. Okay, so this is how we'll run. We'll do it together in a second, but I will just describe the full command. So let's think about our tar file, right, TGZ file we just created. So we want to copy that file, that archive, with the important data from the cluster to the laptop. So this is the command we'll be using. So this kind of reminds you the one we saw just previously. So let me kind of carefully go through and then we'll type it together. So we say SCP, right, which stands for secure copy. Then we say your username, @Hoffman2, idre.ucla.edu. Then we say the path where the file is located. So here I can use the shortcuts, right? Since I know that's my account, right? So that's my home directory. So I can use the the tilde for my home directory, say test, and the file. If you don't want, you can provide the absolute path. That's fine as well. And then you just say /, which stands to copy the file to the current directory on your Mac laptop. And then you will be asked for the password. You will provide it, and then you will see the progress, how the file is copied. Okay, so I guess let's try it together. So we open the terminal. Again, this is only for Mac. For the Windows, I will provide you with the alternative way. So for the Mac, so we do Command T, and then we want to open the new tab. So this will be the new tab. I think there's another way. I think somewhere in the settings you can press. This is the tab corresponds to the cluster. That's the tab we just opened, and by default it corresponds to the local session. So usually what I do, I do CD to go to the home directory on your laptop. So this is my home directory on my laptop. So basically, I'm doing all the things which we did on the cluster. We can do it on the local machine as well, right? There is not much difference, at least at this point. So you just need to decide where you want that archive to be copied, right? So let's say you want to copy to your documents. So do CD and type documents. right? Okay. You will go to document. So now you're in the directory. How to check it? PWD, right? This is directory where you want the file to be copied, right? So let's type that long SCP command and see how it works. So we do SCP, your username, Hoffman2 idre.ucla.edu, test. So I do use here since the directory is this easy to type, you can kind of remember it. If you don't, again, kind of open this session, do pwd, copy paste it here, right? But if you kind of remember it, you can type it. So we say tilde, which stands for your home directory, test, name of the file. We call it new TGZ. New. And here you cannot autocomplete, right? So that will not work just because you're not connected to cluster in a sense. Okay, so this is the command, how the command will look like. So again, if you don't remember this information, the name of the file as well where the file is located, you can kind of copy paste from this session, which corresponds to the cluster. Okay. So if you get everything, if you type everything right and press enter, you will be asked for the password. You type your password, I guess the new one, the one you changed it already. Press enter, and you should see the progress. Okay. So now if you're curious to see the file, I do have many files in my document. So what about I do this? New, I mean, by autocomplete, I can get the file, or I do like new star, and then I will see all the files which start with new. I don't have any besides that file. Okay, so did it work? The SCP? Maybe I can take a pass in the end of the class to make sure. So maybe if you have any questions, I will make a pass in the end of the class, and you will just let me know if something doesn't work. We can try to figure out. Because I think there is a couple of slides left. So for the Windows, so I will ask you to install the program which is called WinSCP for next class. And then I do have the instruction which you can follow, how to configure it out. It's pretty simple. And then I will help you, if it will will not work, I will help you in the beginning of next class, which will be Thursday. So we'll see how, so basically that will allow you to transfer the file back and forward between the laptop and the cluster using the graphical interface. So basically it will be drag and drop, making drag and drop. Okay, so this is the instructions you can follow, but let me just briefly go through. So if you download that WinSCP, you should see Windows like that. So what you do, you press new, then you put your username, your name of the cluster, just right here, your username, the password here, and you say save. So you want to save the session. By saving the session, you should see something like this. If you call the session Hoffman2, it should be, I do have many sessions, probably will have only one, and then that will be a session. And you say login, which will basically brings you to this kind of screen. And this will let you, that will be the Windows corresponding to your laptop. That will be corresponding to your Hoffman2 account. All you need to do, drag and drop the files back and forward. That should work fine. Okay, so if you're not able to do it, see me in the beginning of tomorrow class. I'm sure we can do it together. Okay, so I think the last thing for today will be how to modify your Linux environment. Me basically saying that you want to have this additional layer of security where every time you remove the file or trying to override the file, you'll be asked if you want to do so, right? Do you want to really to remove the file? Yes or no? And then how it will be done, basically there is -i option which stands for interactive mode or like safe mode, where if you type this kind, we'll try in a second, if you type this kind of command, rm-i, you will be prompted if you want to remove the file. But the disadvantage is that you don't want to type -i option all the time. You might forget and then delete the file. So what we want to do, we want to create the alias where every time you type rm, in reality, rm-i will be executed. Right? So basically you're in the safe mode all the time. Okay, so let's see first -i, how does it work? So if you're trying to override the file, saying that this file already exists, and then you want to rename this file, give it this name, which already exists. So the name is taken, basically. So if you use -i option, you will get this prompt asking you, do you want to override the file or not? The same with remove. If you're trying to remove the file, you will all the time get this warning saying, do you want to remove the file or not? Okay, so let's try it, just to see how it works.
If you do and the -i and there isn't a file already named test2, then
Sure.
will it not ask you?
No, if you do -i, you will be asked. If you're not using -i, you will not be asked.
But it says overwrite, so what if there's nothing to do?
So you will get the warning only in the case if there is something to override. So basically, the warning comes only in the only when there is a conflict. If there is no conflict, you will never get the warning. Right? And the -i stands for secure mode, so you will get the message. If you're not using the -i, you will just override it by default. You will not be asked. You will not even notice that you override. You will override without noticing. Okay, so let's try. Let's see if we have anything like this situation. Let's go maybe to the directory new. We should have more files there. Okay, so what about I want to rename the file which is called test.txt, excuse me, and give a new name which will be the one which does exist, and put -i. Okay, so this way you're trying to rename the file and take the name which does exist already. And then you should get prompted and then ask for, do you want to override the file or not? So if you do, say yes, put Y. If you don't want to override, put N. So the same with remove. So remove -i, pick up any file. So if you do, so you should get this warning where it will ask, do you want to remove the file or not, right? So this is what we're trying to achieve, but without explicitly all the time putting the -i, right? Okay, so how to do it? So we want every time we'll be typing those commands, in reality we'll be typing those commands and -i. So that's a procedure how we want to do it. So we will modify the file which is called bash profile, which is located in your home directory. So what you do, you go to your home directory by using cd, then you modify the file, or you create the one which, if it does not exist. And the way you create the file, you already know, you do vi.bash_profile. So don't forget about the dot, that just stands for the special file, setting file. And to the end of the file, you should add those 3 lines, which are right here. The lines which basically tells that every time you will be typing cp, in reality cp -i will be executed. So you do need all those 3 lines. Just pay attention to the single quotes. Don't copy paste it. Try to type it because there is an issue with single quotes. There is 2 types of those. I think that might influence as well. Should be pretty easy to type. So type those 3. Close the file, save the file. We'll do it together. Save the file and restart the session, because otherwise it will not work. So what does it mean restart the session? Open the new tab and connect to the cluster again. Okay, so let's do it together. So what we need to do, we need to go to our home directory, do vi.bash profile, okay, so I did not close the file properly, that's why I do see this message, which you should not see. So what I do, in case you ever see this message, I just press enter all the way. Okay, but should be much simpler for you. And then you go all the way to the end of the file, and then you put all those 3 lines. So the way you do it, you press I get this warning because again I didn't close it properly, but you should not. And you put those 3 lines in the end of the file. Okay, so if you're done, so you press escape to exit the insert mode. And you want to save the file by doing shift semicolon, give the column WQ. So in my case, again, since I didn't close it properly, I need to add the exclamation sign kind of to force to save it. Sorry. Otherwise it will not work. But for you, WQ should be enough. Okay, so press enter. And now we need to open the new session. So open the new tab. So for the Windows, just close the PuTTY, open it again. Yes. That's the way. And then you do have the save sessions, so it should be pretty fast right? As well. Okay, so Command T for the Mac, and for Windows, close the PuTTY, open it again. And now you need to type this command SSH, username and so on. So it will be SSH, your username at Hoffman2 idre ucla.edu, password. So now you got on the cluster. So try to remove a file and then you should get the warning. So let's go to directory test, maybe new, and pick up the file you don't like and try to remove it. Test.txt. You should get the warning. If you don't, then maybe you can close the quotes and so on. So ask me in the end of the class. I will help you. Okay. In this case, I say no. Okay, so that's the idea behind that. We want this additional layer of security, right? So we want to get these warnings. Okay, so I think I have a couple of slides left for today, so we'll finish it today. And then again, if you have any questions, just stay after the class and then I will help you. I have like 2 slides left. All right, this is what I'm trying to say, that this is kind of the messages you would expect to see if you're trying to move the file, override the file, or you're trying to remove the file. This is the ones we just saw. Okay, so that's the summary what we did today, right? We started with the looking at the current directory, the current directory, then we see how to change the directory, in other words, go to the directory, how to list all the files and directories in the current directory, copy the file, copy directories, move the files, remove the directories, as well as creating the directory. As well as we saw the difference between the copying and moving, right? And we kind of understood in which cases we need to use the moving, in which cases creating the link, and then in which cases we really need to copy the files. Okay, so this, I do have a short homework. I think it should take you like 5 minutes, but this way you will be sure that everything we covered today kind of makes sense for you, and yeah, you're on the good page. Okay, so the homework will be to create a directory practice in your home directory. Inside that directory, create a file PA and PB, create a copy of the file PA, and then rename the file PB. And then delete all the files which ends with B. Okay, so that's the homework. And I guess that's it for today. So we'll continue on Thursday, the same time. And yeah, so if you have any questions, I will be happy to help after the class. I mean, right now. Thank you.